This is Palmer's Pocket Scale, published in 1844. It's a little hardcover book of about 50 pages. These are all the instructions that build up to the real business here at the back. A circular slide rule. It has beautiful flowers. It also has BG, WG, months 8 perk, days 6 perk, acre, foot, cord. I'm pretty sure this little thing is the oldest physical object that I own. This thing here was produced by Mr. Aaron Palmer in 1844. Just to be clear, this really is an original copy printed in 1844. I've heard that this thing is impossibly hard to find and very expensive. Mine's in excellent shape, really, although the book part is missing the last few pages. It's got somebody's name written in the front page with a price from a used bookshop, about 40 bones, and that's what I paid for it. The only listings I can find online now are for several hundred bones each, so I think I got a good deal. The whole book has been scanned at Google Books, so you can get the PDF yourself. I'll put a link in the description. Almost nothing is known about the creator, Mr. Aaron Palmer. The first part of the book is full of endorsements from established scientists and mathematician types. A later version was endorsed by Augustus de Morgan, who is a legend of basic mathematical logic. Palmer called his idea the endless self-computing scale, but I guess at some point he decided to market it with his own name, Palmer's Computing Scale. There was a big one, and then this pocket version. Within a couple years, the business was taken over by a guy named Fuller, who published Palmer's Scale Improved by Fuller, and eventually something called Fuller's Time Telegraph. The history of the variations of this thing is extensively recorded in a pair of journal articles by Bobby Feazel. I'll put the citations in the description. Mine is the pocket version, and I think this little book actually could have fit in a vest pocket. Really, it's just a circular slide rule with some extra gimmicks. The first slide rule was made in the 1620s. It's like a ruler, but the markings have a weird spacing to them. Instead of equally spacing the numbers from 0 to 10, you space out the numbers from 1 to 10 according to their exponents. Because of the weird spacing, if you make two that slide next to each other, then some cute things start to happen. Check out what happens if I line up the 1 on top with the 2 on the bottom. All the numbers on the rest of the scale line up with their doubles. Like the 2 on top is now lining up with the 4, and the 4 on top lines up with the 8. If I slide the 1 to the 3, now everything on top is being multiplied by 3. And look what happens if I add two distances together on the scale. Like if I look at 2 on the top scale and 3 on the bottom scale, I'm going to slide it to put the two distances one after the other. And now the end is at 6, which is the product. 2 times 3 is 6. This is how a slide rule multiplies. Really, it's because of this rule from high school. Adding the exponents is the same as multiplying the big numbers. A circular slide rule is the same thing, but the scale is wrapped around in a circle. Same idea though, adding the distances around makes the things multiply. There's no real big advantage to arranging it in a circle, but it's more portable in some cases. You trade a long skinny thing like this for something much more compact, though not so skinny, and it spins rather than slides, which means you can make it out of different materials. And the circular form factor is perfect for Palmer's Pocket Computing Scale. Just a cardboard disc with a metal thing sticking it on there. You can actually see the metal sticking out the back of the book too. It also has another metal thing on the circular part. There was originally some kind of string attached to this one, but it's gone on mine. Palmer's scale is pretty much just a standard slide rule with a few extra markings on the scale just to spice things up. Most 20th century slide rules have a special marking for pi on them. That's just because it comes up a lot that you want to multiply by pi in real-world engineering problems. And Palmer's scale has that too, but it's labeled as C on the inner scale and D on the outer scale. The instructions explain about this, and it's actually a pretty good idea. C is for circumference, so if you have a circle with a certain diameter, you make the inner one point to the diameter, and then the C will point to the circumference. And you can also go the other way around. If you know the circumference but you want the diameter, you line it up the other way and the D points to the diameter. This thing has lots of special marked points for specific tasks like this, mostly related to buying and selling commodity type stuff. The WG and BG are for measuring volumes of barrels in either wine gallons or beer gallons. There's a difference. It's the bubbles. The 50-page book of instructions is mostly giving detailed procedures to make all kinds of useful calculations. Bought a hogshead of molasses for $60. For how much must I sell it to gain 20%? It's like I'm reading my own life story here. What is the interest on $55 for 15 days at 6%? This is what these special month and days markings are for. There's also some abstract geometry problems in there, which I appreciate. Find the greatest diameter of each of 3 equal circles that can be inscribed within a circle of a given diameter. Man, this is what they were doing in the 1840s? Find the diameter of a leaden ball from its weight? Find the solid contents of a frustrum? What is the length of one side of the greatest nonagon that can be inscribed in a circle 82 feet in diameter? Man, if I had a nickel for every... It makes me wonder how Palmer came up with all these crazy examples. It seems like just a big jumble of random things to me, but back in the 1840s, this was the very early days of the concept of calculation for the everyday common man. Part of the marketing challenge for a general purpose calculator would have been just to convince people that it's really relevant to their needs. And different people got different needs, so I guess you just throw it all in there. Surely somebody needs to know how to deal with weights of gunpowder shook close versus gunpowder in a loose heap. Everything is nicely explained, I guess, although to a modern person it still seems pretty complicated. Palmer says, "The simplicity, rapidity, and accuracy have astonished our best mathematicians." Of course, by today's standards, it's not simple or rapid or particularly accurate. And so I was surprised to learn that Palmer's scale was actually a bit controversial in its day. Critics apparently claimed that this device would weaken the mind, causing it to rely upon mechanism to make its numbered computations. So even in the 1840s, people were worried about those darn kids with their calculators. Ask them to find the mean diameter of a cask and they don't even think. They just immediately reach for their Palmer's computing scale. Of course, this kind of moral panic about calculators is still with us today. When I was a kid in the 80s, kids asked our math teachers all the time, "Why do we need to learn this if we have calculators that can do it?" And the teacher usually said, "Well, when you're a grown-up, you won't always have a calculator with you all the time, right?" Well, Mrs. O'Shaughnessy, I'm a grown-up now, and actually I do have a calculator with me all the time. So why did I have to learn how to do long division by hand? Well, I suppose, strictly speaking, I didn't really have to learn that. Probably I'd be okay without that life skill. But learning it made me smarter. Now, sometimes I do have to divide numbers in my real life, and I guess I could do it by hand, but I'm probably just going to get out my phone and use a calculator, because it works out better that way. These days we see the same effect with technology even beyond mathematics. Like the next time somebody needs to know the hometown of Apple Bloom's cousin Babs Seed, sure, I could just try to go off my own memory, but I'm probably just going to get out my phone and use the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic wiki, because it works out better that way. Does this mean I've become too stupid to engage in conversations on my own? Well, I think it means that my conversation becomes free to focus more on meaning and depth rather than spending all my time speculating about facts. And that's a good thing. So no, I don't think Palmer's computing scale made kids dumber in the 1840s. It taught them a new and different way to think about numbers. And who knows, maybe when they grew up, some of them really did need to know how many solid feet a round stick of timber will contain when hewn square.